drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, people that basically are anything.
What's wrong with that, Sarah?
The words that Sarah Pochin used in response to a caller into talk radio on Saturday morning were without ugly and taken on their own, could be read to be very, very unpleasant indeed. I am unhappy with what she has done. I can't underestimate that, and she fully knows how I feel. However, it was in the broader context of DEI madness.
The elite class want to completely try and distract from the real issues. And so, of course, if you've been following the mainstream media over the weekend, you would think, no, it's not a problem that there are these Islamist hate marches on the streets of East London. It's not a problem that civil war seems to be coming. The biggest issue in the United Kingdom, according to the MSM and the elite class and the ruling Labour Party, is the fact that Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin went on Talk TV and admitted the truth about what has become the overrepresentation of black and Asian people in advertising in the United Kingdom. These are facts. They might be uncomfortable facts. Maybe Sarah Pochin didn't even express these facts in the most artful manner. But who cares? She is telling the truth. We have a 4% black population in the United Kingdom. Over 50% of our ads, according to a recent Channel 4 survey, feature black people. That's ludicrous. That is not what is meant by diversity. It's social engineering. And so, unlike the rest of the mainstream media, which has just shown you the tiny little clip of Sarah Pochin, I want to show you this full conversation in context, because the context matters. And the people who are calling her racist, which we'll come to shortly, are purposefully taking her out of context to stoke a culture war, and it pisses me off. So watch the full conversation, which was a honest debate, or an honest conversation, I guess you'd say, with a listener on Talk TV. Watch this. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent.
A bit left field, this one, but I think it's creepingly important. Would Reform do anything to look at the representation of the demographics of TV and public advertising? Because we're getting to the point now where adverts don't represent what this country looks like, and actually positive demonisation of white people, just portrayed as criminals or inadequate when they're not portrayed anywhere else. Now, the reason why this is important, we got a case of art imitates life, because we're getting to the point where a number of my friends think that we're being discriminated like in employment markets, because white men are seen as useless and whatever and just invisible. And there's one financial institution which coincidentally uses a strikingly similar image of Nigel in their advertising for an incompetent, useless, arrogant white male. I just wondered if that's something Reform would look into.
Okay, Stuart, stay where you are. Sarah, what do you think of what Stuart's saying? What would Reform UK do about it, if anything?
I think Stuart's absolutely right. Drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, people that basically are anything.
What's wrong with that, Sarah? What's wrong with that?
Well, it doesn't reflect our society, and I feel that your average white person, average white family is, like, I agree with you, Stuart, not represented anymore in TV.
There are lots of white people on television, Sarah, or they're not. There are lots of white people. There are lots of white men. There are lots of white women.
We're talking about adverts, and how many times do you look at a TV advert and you think there's not a single white person on it? And actually it is. It's something that's happened because, I believe, of the woke liberality that goes on inside, this sort of, like, in the arty-farty world. When it comes to, northern towns like Runcorn that I represent, it's just not representative of the rest of the country. Might be fine inside the M25, but it's definitely not representative of the rest of the country. And actually, you know what, people, I'm hearing this more and more, people notice and people will switch off.
Yes, they will. Sarah Pochin said nothing wrong. What the mainstream media have done have taken that one tiny clip and decontextualized it to try and make a point that she is racist. It's not racist. Let me tell you, if you went to Namibia and there were 50% white people in Namibia, or you went to Japan and there were over 50% of white people in ads, no one would say it was racist for a Japanese politician to say, well, we should have more Japanese people in these ads. I'm sick of seeing the white people because we are a 95% Japanese country. But what happens in this country is the elite class immediately run to racism, even some people who should know better. Dan Hodges posted immediately after this, I think this is the most overtly racist thing I think I've ever seen from a sitting member of parliament. Tim Montgomery, who's meant to be on her team, said, I don't think Sarah's remarks were racist, but she was definitely guilty of political malpractice. No, she wasn't. She was telling the truth. But of course, the hostage video apology then came because Nigel Farage was furious. Sarah had to write, my comments on a Talk TV phone-in earlier today were phrased poorly, and I unreservedly apologised for any offence caused, which was not my intention. The point I was making is that many British TV adverts have gone DEI mad and are now underrepresented of British society as a whole. Sarah, we understood. We knew exactly what you were doing. But of course, it's little desperate weasel liars like Wes Streeting who are actually hypocrites and anti-white racists who have tried to cash in on this. Look at what he had to say, putting on faux outrage on LBC.
What she said was a total disgrace. There is no explanation for what she said other than her words were racist. Now, she might be embarrassed by her racism now, but the least she can do is admit it and apologise for it. And as a country, we cannot allow what has been, I think, one of the most successful multi-faith, multicultural countries in the world to slide back to the days where people walk down the street afraid of being abused or attacked because of what they look like or who they worship. That is not who we are. That is not the kind of country we are, and we're not going back there. But we will only be able to confront and defeat this racism if we're prepared to call it out and if the vast majority of decent people are prepared to face it down and not be bystanders. She should be utterly ashamed of herself. And the deafening silence from her own party leadership show that Reform UK cannot be trusted to govern this country because they think our country's flag belongs to only some of us rather than all of us.
No, you should be ashamed, Wes Streeting. You should be ashamed. You're the one trying to stoke a race war. And guess who followed up with it today? Starmer. Yep, Starmer has gone there too. Watch. But first, this time of year, the air gets harsher, the heating's on, and skin takes a beating. Dryness, fine lines, that loss of bounce. So now I need to tell you about how I've been avoiding those issues through the incredible products of One Skin, the world's first skin longevity company. It's led by an all-female team of PhDs in skin regeneration and tissue engineering, and their standout technology is the OS1 peptide. Instead of just masking dryness, OS1 is designed to work at the cellular level, targeting senescent cells, the troublemakers behind wrinkles and reduced elasticity, so skin can behave more like its younger self. By addressing aging at the source, OS1 helps support a stronger moisture barrier, improves the look of firmness and bounce, and smooths rough, tired-looking texture. The result is skin that looks and feels more resilient, better hydrated, and visibly healthier, supported from the source rather than just the surface. The range is simple but powerful. The best sellers: OS1 Face, a moisturizer and longevity serum in one; OS1 Body for crepey, dry, or thinning skin, perfect when the seasons change; and OS1 Eye, their most concentrated formula for the delicate eye area. Every formula is dermatologist tested, safe for sensitive skin, NEA approved, backed by 5 published clinical studies, and trusted with over 10,000 5-star reviews. If you're ready to upgrade your routine for the colder months, start with Face and build from there. This season, don't just moisturize, support your skin at the cellular level with One Skin. And for a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code Outspoken at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with the code Outspoken. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. And please support our show and tell them it was via Dan Wootton Outspoken. Try OneSkin today. But now, back to the show.
Shocking racism. And it's the sort of thing that will tear our country apart. And it tells you everything about reform. And Nigel Farage has got some questions to answer, because either he doesn't consider it racist, which in my view is shocking in itself, or he does think it's racist and he's shown absolutely no leadership.
Well, sadly, actually, Farage hasn't shown the type of leadership that I would have liked him to show today. Because what he's done is haul Sarah Pochin over the coals, publicly humiliate her at a press conference where I think he should have said she did nothing wrong. Watch.
The words that Sarah Pochin used in response to a caller into talk radio on Saturday morning were without ugly and taken on their own, could be read to be very, very unpleasant indeed. I am unhappy with what she has done. I can't underestimate that, and she fully knows how I feel. However, it was in the broader context of DEI madness in the advertising industry, something which anybody with half a brain can recognise has been going on since about 2021. So I understand the basic point, but the way she put it, the way she worded it, was wrong and was ugly. And if I thought that the intention behind it was racist, then I would have taken a lot more action than I have to date. And that is because I don't.
So Ed Davies said this is racist pure and simple, prompting Lawrence Fox to reply, "We have reached the point where empirical truth is racist now." Yawn. There is a glaring disparity in advertising. Every single ethnic group is overrepresented at the expense of native Brits on television. Read the studies. I understand she is on an apology tour on Nigel's orders, no doubt for speaking the truth. Reform, yet again, adopting the "I'm not mad whilst sat in a straitjacket in a lunatic asylum" approach. I am in a mixed race relationship. You would have thought from watching the telly that everyone else was too. They aren't. Stop apologizing for reality. It gets us nowhere. But I actually think there are so many anti-white racists and race baiters now operating in Parliament. Munera Wilson, I'm going to call her out, the Lib Dem, who wrote, "Wow, racist with a capital R. Is that also how you feel about those of us who are brown or black sitting in Parliament with you?" Of course not. But I do point out, no one on the left called out these two anti-white racists. Watch.
Every chief executive of every council and every government department, white. Every director of a department in Scotland, white. Every principal of a college or university in Scotland, white. Every head teacher in Scotland, white. Every chair of a public sector body in Scotland, white. Every High Court judge in Scotland, white. Every prison governor in Scotland, white. Every editor of a news organisation in Scotland, white. Why?
The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
Because you live in a 94% white country, you fool. Christine Hamilton. I mean, it's Sarah Pochin who's racist, apparently, not that mob.
Honestly, Dan, it is so unbelievable. talk to your friends, anybody out there who doesn't believe what Sarah has said. Just talk to your friends, ask them what they see on their television screens, ask them how many non-white people they see, ask them whether the average family, whether they're eating crisps or buying donuts or washing up liquid, whatever it is, they're not a representative white family in this country. They are always, she's absolutely right. It's not racist to say the truth. You're showing a whole load of them now. It is not racist. It's an absolute fact. There's hardly an advert that goes out nowadays where they're all white. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And I must say, I entirely agree with you. I thought Nigel Farage's non-defence offer, just throwing her to the wolves to save his own skin, which is not surprising knowing him, was appalling. He did not need to say the first third or quarter of his response. He could have just started out by saying, it is not racist to state the bleeding obvious.
100%.
That's all she's done.
100%. And Neil, now we're in this extraordinary situation where all of the leftists who have spent the past 5 years campaigning for this ludicrous over-representation are now saying, Neil, oh, well, ads aren't actually meant to be a representation of society.
No. I beg your pardon?
Yeah. No, well, it's a case of go woke, go broke, I think. How many people are just looking at the television and say, oh, look, there's another one. It's a game, really. And it's a game that I've seen other people play.
Spot the whitey.
Spot the whitey. And so the ordinary people of the country, the people who have rejected the political class's attempt to shut their opinions out of normal conversation aren't going to fall for this. Why do we have a result that we got in Caerphilly the other day with reform came from nowhere to nearly 40% of the vote? Why are events like this happening all over the country all the time where the political class is being kicked out of office? It's because ordinary people know that the political class is not representative of them. And what we've got to do is change the whole complement of people who are elected to represent the people until they do represent the people. And I think it was pathetic that Sarah Pochin was forced to apologise for something which required no apology. She explained in that post of hers on Twitter exactly what it was all about. It's perfectly obvious, actually, when you listen to what she actually said in the broadcast, which you showed just a few minutes ago. It's a complete non-issue which has been manufactured by politicised leftist media who just can't face up to the reality of the disaster that is modern Britain.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go wherever you are.